Singapore is a country in Southeast Asia that is on the rise. Once considered a poor colonial backwater, Singapore has developed in the past few decades to become a powerhouse for international finance and logistics. Currently, the city is the fourth largest financial center in the world, operates the fifth largest port, and maintains the eighth highest GDP per capita in the world. But Singapore also provides a fascinating study in transportation. It's one of the few large cities in the world that's managed to circumnavigate the traffic congestion that defines so many other larger metropolitan areas like New York City or Los Angeles. In fact, the way Singapore has fixed its traffic problem could make it a role model for the rest of the world. Allow me to explain. Singapore is a geographical dwarf. The city-state is situated on an island south of Malaysia and is just half the size of London. But what Singapore lacks in size, it makes up for in population. With 8,400 people per square kilometer, Singapore presents a population density comparable to New York City or Istanbul. With this in mind, one wouldn't be wrong to assume that as cities get denser and larger, the time and energy we expend on congested commutes grows longer and longer, and for many of us, more exhausting. And this is definitely the case with major metropolitan areas. But it's not the case with Singapore. Singapore has defied this trend and provides a model that could prove useful to the rest of us. What makes the lack of congestion even stranger is the prosperity enjoyed by Singapore and its citizens. This is a city where the median income per person is a comfortable 57,000 Singaporean dollars per year, which is 30% higher than the average American makes. Which is odd. Generally, as people earn more, private car use increases. So what's going on? Today, we will address this question and explain the three core reasons why we believe Singapore's model has been successful. In traffic engineering, there are two conflicting options that policymakers must choose between: increase the supply or reduce the demand. And this is the same choice that Singapore faced years ago. The city's economy was growing rapidly, and as the island's wealth grew, so did its demand for more roads from all the shiny new cars that citizens were buying. But the government chose demand reduction for two important reasons. The first is geography. Singapore has limited space. The second, as the principle of induced demand states, the act of increasing the capacity of a major road also increases the number of people who end up using it. This increase might come from new development in the area or drivers changing their commute due to decreased travel time. It's a bit like trying to dig yourself out of a hole. So, while politicians around the world were breaking ground on massive road expansions, Singapore's leaders elected to take drivers off the roads. So how did they do it? In 1991, Singapore introduced the vehicle quota system. In the system, you must receive a certificate from the government to legally drive a car. These certificates last 10 years, and when it expires, you must apply for a new one or get rid of your car. So far, so good. The catch is that the government only issues a few certificates every quarter. The number of certificates released are determined by the number of vehicles taken off the road last quarter, the government's ideal vehicle growth rate, and adjustments based on the number of taxis and early car turnovers. The population of 6 million people far exceeds the number of certificates provided annually. So, multiple times per year, Singaporeans who want to drive must bid for the privilege to do so. These bids last for several days, and bidders can adjust the amount they are willing to pay until the auction closes. For example, if there are 2 certificates up for auction and 5 bids, the 2 certificates would be sold for the price of the highest unsuccessful bid plus $1. This is an interesting system because instead of the government setting an arbitrary price, it allows supply and demand to determine it. It also discourages car ownership by making it more expensive. After all, wouldn't you reconsider buying that brand new Corvette if it was going to cost an extra $40,000? At that point, taking a taxi or public transit starts looking more reasonable. But let's say you're determined and you submit a high enough bid. Congratulations, you can now access Singapore's roads and experience electronic road pricing. Electronic road pricing is a version of congestion pricing, when a city directly charges its drivers for the congestion that they create. Suppose you want to drive into the city center for work at 9 a.m. when traffic is at its worst. Well, when you pass a toll station, you will be charged 6 Singaporean dollars as a toll. But if you drive at 8 a.m. when traffic is lighter, you would only pay $2. There is a shared theme here between the electronic road pricing scheme and the vehicle quota system. That is, if the value you gain from driving into work at 9 a.m. is greater than the cost, then go for it. But if it's not worth it, you can always drive at a different time or commute a different way. So how effective have the vehicle quota system and the electronic road pricing been in tandem? Well, check this out. Thanks to the vehicle quota system, Singapore's expressways only saw an increase of around 60,000 vehicles over a 10-year period, which is only 6,000 vehicles per year. This keeps traffic speed during peak hours consistent over a long period of time. There is also a tangible effect from electronic road pricing. If most Singaporeans drove their car during rush hour traffic would grind to a halt. Instead, the data shows that the average speed only drops 25% or less from the speed limit, meaning people are shifting their driving to other hours. Singapore not only strives to curb its traffic demand, but it is also home to some of the best public transit available in the world. As of this January, Singapore has around 143 miles of rail lines and aims to double that by 2030. Singapore's Land Transport Authority estimates that this will bring 80% of all Singaporeans within a 10-minute walk of rail service. And if this wasn't enough, the city-state also hosts approximately 370 bus lines. These are facilities with a wide reputation for safety, cleanliness, and convenience. When you enter a train station, there's no need to fumble through your wallet to find the exact change for a ticket. All trains and buses can be accessed through a prepaid electronic card. Tap once when you enter, and you're good to go. And if you miss your train, it's not a big deal. During peak hour, trains arrive every 2 to 3 minutes. Non-peak hours have a frequency of 5 to 7 minutes. But it gets even better. If driving in Singapore is an expensive luxury, public transit is an affordable necessity. A one-way trip across the island to the other will cost you a little less than $2 American. Singapore has also focused on decreasing congestion by improving their traffic control system. Let's say you're not the safest driver in the world and break the speed limit a lot. But when you see the speed camera, you pump your brakes, and once you're clear, you go right back to speeding. This might work in the US, but not in Singapore. They've invested what they call average speed cameras. 2 cameras are mounted near the entrance and exit of a road that can detect your license plate across 2 points. Then all the system needs to do is divide the known distance by your travel time. If you're over the speed limit, you're automatically ticketed. Better enforcement of these speed limits means safer roads, fewer crashes, and, of course, clearer traffic. They also have a unique system to reduce idle traffic by cutting unnecessary crossing time. If you're a young, healthy person, crossing a regular intersection should only take you 10 to 15 seconds. But what about the elderly? They would probably need twice as long, right? This actually poses a major problem to cities trying to determine crossing time. This means that at some intersections, some will struggle to cross in time safely, while at others, cars are stuck waiting at crosswalks when no one is walking. To address this problem, Singapore's Land Transport Authority created the Green Man Plus initiative. If you are an elderly or disabled person, you can receive an electronic card that you can tap near a signal push button. This gives you an additional 13 seconds of crossing time. This way, all Singaporean residents can safely use crosswalks, and traffic must only wait when it is necessary. These are just a few of Singapore's traffic innovations. There are many, too many, to discuss in a single video. So let's recap. We have a city-state that reduces traffic demand through a market-driven system, requires drivers to pay for congestion, provides a world-class mass transit system, and is always improving its traffic control methods with new ideas. So, what's the result of all of this? A city with a population density like New York City, but with an average driver that spends 100 fewer hours stuck in traffic. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and want to learn more about the world of transportation, please like, share, and subscribe. And if you want to support us in our mission of educating the public, check out our Patreon page in the link below here.